bienvenidos. Hoy tenemos el placer de conversar con Paulo Lima, doctor en filosofía, artista brasileño, radicado en Santa Bárbara, cuya exposición individual, Sueños y Revelaciones, se presenta actualmente en la Galería Anne Fox Worthy del Allan Hancock College en Santa María, California, hasta el 4 de diciembre del 2025. La muestra reúne más de una década de exploración artística, cerámica, pintura, escultura y fotografía, todos inspirados en la espiritualidad afro-brasileña, las tradiciones barrocas y objetos encontrados. So, welcome, Paulo. Welcome to Pasadena en español.
Sí, gracias. Thank you very much, Isabel. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. To start the conversation, let's start with the background. How did you start the artistic pathway?
Sure. Um, Early on, when I was about 18, I took some fashion design classes in São Paulo. I liked to draw, and fashion was, one of the ways I could express myself. I did not pursue anything artistic until much later on when I started taking some acting classes in 1999 through 2002. So I was pretty much in a program in São Paulo focusing on acting. Unfortunately, I was laid off from United Airlines after 9/11, and then I was able to find a job in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado, closer to Denver, Colorado, in Beaver Creek. And I moved there for about a year and a half. When I was there, I was just looking for an opportunity to go back to studying acting or studying theater, and I found a program at Santa Monica College. So I already had a bachelor's degree in Brazil, but I decided to, I don't know, to see how the school system works here. And it looked to me that the Santa Monica College had a good program, a pathway to go to UCLA, because I wanted to do another four-year program. So I started there and I did it for 2 years. While I was there, I took some other fashion classes. I took a lot of acting classes, costume design classes. And when I took this costume design class, I thought, well, maybe there is something else that I can do other than acting. So I talked to my professors and I said, well, I think it would be a very good path for you to be here in the United States I was an international student, and continue your studies, and a pathway between costume and fashion is not too distant. You can apply some few things that you know from fashion to costumes. And I applied to Cal State Long Beach, and they took me. So I was there for 3 years. I got my master's in costume design in 2009. And then I was here in my OPT, of practical training, for about 1 year, and I applied to UCLA for a PhD. I wanted to continue studying clothing, sartorial performance, and I was studying pretty much the dresses worn by practitioners of candomblé, which is very similar to voodoo in Santeria in terms of people that's dressing and getting possessed by gods and goddesses and paying homage to their ancestors and using dress as a means to communicate their ideas and also to tell history. So that was my pathway back to art, right? Photography happened during my PhD. I needed to focus on images to illustrate my dissertation, and I wanted to go back to Brazil and photograph dresses, photograph people wearing them in context. So I did that for about 6 months, and I came back with a lot of images that were very nice, and then most of them I used in my dissertation. And there was something about it that I wanted to show people here in the United States, because I thought there was a connection between the Afro-Brazilian community and then the African American community, and then, the Black diasporic community as well.
So how you get the inspiration? You say that you started as costume designer, and so what led you to, or what inspiration do you have to focus on the spirituality and all the
The
santos?
Santos, yes. When I was in my master's program at Cal State Long Beach, I had to design a show called The Saints Play by Eric N. And it's a play based on the life of saints like Saint George, Saint Diffina, Saint Barbara, and he uses the energy and the ideas of the santos, the mythological ideas of santos, to talk about people today, right? How is the influence of religion in the massacre in El Salvador? And he kind of meshed a lot of stories together, but it was on a contemporary look, having as the basis the lives of saints that lived, thousands of years ago. But it was a contemporary story. So to do that particular play as a costume designer, I went back to Brazil, to my culture, to look for images that I could use as inspiration. I found
Mm,
these Baroque images
mm,
of santos that are usually displayed in churches and carried in processions, and they are beautifully
mhm,
dressed. There are Madonnas, there are Jesus Christ or some other saints, and they have fabric around their bodies. But what I wanted to do was to use just the image of the center without the clothing, right? So I found these images of them naked, which now you see in many homes and places that sell this kind of centers. They're very popular in the Philippines, and people use them. People use them in decorations in their homes, and they're barely
mhm,
dressed. So the tradition was, it still is in churches, right? But as decorative pieces, they are just there, and sometimes they have some jewelry around their bodies. And that's what I did. I used the inspiration of these particular figures to have my actors being as centers that could be having some kind of identity putting onto them with clothing,
mhm,
and then they would become a specific character, a bird, a turtle, a cloud, a priest, a nun, a guard, or a regular person going shopping. So by
mhm.
adding those elements to the basic costume, I created this environment where saints came to life. So I bought figures from the Philippines, three of them, to
Okay.
illustrate to my committee when they were analyzing my final project, to say,
Mhm,
here's the image, here's how I dressed them, here's, how my inspiration worked. And when they looked at it, they said, wow, this is so beautiful. I think you have something else going on besides the stage, that you can produce this as an art piece. And I did. I made over 100 of them and I sold most of them, and kind of created a business out of this idea of, using centers as
the tradition.
inspiration. And
Yeah.
yes.
So you are reinterpreting the spirituality or the practice of the dressing of the saints.
Hmm.
So it's interesting how you are transforming this in a contemporary art.
Correct. I call it like I'm resignifying the dress, the practice of dressing saints to be carried in processions and be displayed in churches, by
Mm-hmm.
giving them a more of a contemporary and secular look. I
Mm-hmm.
don't dress them as Santos, right? Some of the elements may be there, but it's not, right? So those are, I don't know,
Way enough.
more fashion oriented, and I use a lot of discarded materials and recycled materials, and that's what I use to decorate the bodies. And I started collecting them, buying the bodies from the Philippines. But then I realized that I needed to have my own body of work, figures
Mm-hmm.
that I could sculpt myself. So I started sculpting with plaster, with papier mache, with air dry clay, making the bodies myself, and then dressing the bodies once they were dried. So I started incorporating the same elements of dressing, these images,
Mm-hmm.
secular contemporary looks using recycled materials or materials that I made myself, such as felted pieces, felted fabric, and then
Mm-hmm.
creating new ensembles, right? So the images of the centers from the Baroque are the inspiration, but then things have transformed and evolved and changed throughout the years as I was able to make my own statues. So that
Okay.
happened from 2009. I started doing this, and then in 2014, sorry, in 2019, I had the opportunity to have a studio in Santa Barbara, and then I started making the saints instead of buying them. So that
Oh,
changed a lot the ways that I was approaching my work because now it's like, wow, I cannot just wake up and have something ready for me. I had to make it and then dress it and then, explore variations of the look.
and that's why is the title of this exposition or this exhibit, the dreams and revelations, right?
Revelations, exactly. And dream is the idea of, you move to a country, to a new country, and you have all these dreams in your minds, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then there's this revelation that not everything is so rosy, not everything is so easy, but there is a pathway, there's a journey that can take you to a destination. And if you're persistent enough and if you're resilient enough, then you can get to that point. I'm still searching to about what that point is, Isabel. I think I'm appreciating a lot of the journey and finding out new ways to express myself. I started with the sculptures. Then, because I needed to illustrate my dissertation for my PhD, I started photographing. It was also about a religion, right? About the
Mm-hmm.
Afro-Brazilian religion called Candomblé. And I loved it. And I use a lot of those elements that come from that particular religion in my work right now. So you see some of the elements of the practice with these two orishas, with these forces of nature that derive from Africa and I explore those elements, right? So there's a combination of my identity as a Brazilian, as somebody who identifies with the Afro-Brazilian community, but also identifies with native Brazilians, who likes to travel, who picks, objects from all over the places, Spain or, Peru, or I go there, or Brazil
Wow.
when I come back to my country, go back to my country all the time to explore new things. And then I bring all these elements. I have become somebody different than the Paulo who moved here 23 years ago to go to Colorado and work in the hospitality business. My identities have shifted, right? My ideas, my relationship with my body and my, I don't know, sexual identity and sexuality have changed. And all those things are part of my work right now. And then during COVID, I started exploring painting because I needed to keep busy and I was doing some watercolors for my costume design, but I started exploring with acrylic paint. And it's
Mm.
great to have something on canvas that was abstract. I liked abstract art, so it was very good transition to that particular medium as well.
Okay, so over the years, you have been exploring so many things, and while you're explaining, so how hard have you been? Is being picking the pieces that you have to curate this exhibit?
This
It was
exhibition,
hard
right?
for you, I can imagine, because so many.
Yes. In February this year, I was invited to show part of the collection at the college at Allan Hancock College, part of the Black History Month. So we had a few figures that were aligned with the theme and all my some photographs from my PhD, from my dissertation in Brazil. We have a lot
Mhm,
of black bodies and people who were practicing the religion there. So they knew my work and said, wow, we want to bring you back for the gallery,
mhm,
which is a much larger space, and you're going to have a solo exhibition. And then I invited the curator to come to my studio because she wanted to see what else I had in there. And she fell in love with a lot of pieces. She fell in love with a photograph of my dog, who unfortunately passed last year, and a piece that I had made with about my dog as well for another exhibition. A few years ago during COVID, I was part of this book called Santa Barbara Artists and Their Dogs. And then there was an exhibition aligned with that particular book, and I had
mhm,
a piece to go with the opening of that and the launching of the book. So Elizabeth, she came to my studio and we looked together at pieces that could be a good fit for the exhibition, and we decided
mhm,
to have four different mediums:
mhm,
crafts that had already been at the college in February, sculptures, and I added more than the collection that I had there in February. Then we added paintings, and we added something that had were more related to body and to abstract renditions as well. And then my new medium, which is ceramics. About a year ago, I started taking ceramics classes.
Mm.
at Santa Barbara City College. I'm always trying to innovate, to learn, always learn. I teach, I'm a professor at university, but I also like to learn a lot and then exploring new mediums. I think it's fascinating. I am a self-taught artist for the most part. I do have a background in costume design and acting, but in terms of hands-on materials, dealing with air dry clay and ceramics, I think I needed a better foundation, so it was a good fit. And then they liked what I had produced thus far, and we incorporated into this exhibition. So everything kind of functioned organically. And then when they took
Are
everything,
connected.
yeah, they were connected. They found a way. So they had an idea of how they're going to show everything together, but then when pieces arrived in the space, things changed for them as well. The kind of curating as they saw pieces going together, right? And then that kind of opened up new ways to, I don't know, to communicate my ideas and their ideas, right? 'Cause they had their own ideas as curators on what to
Mhm.
show and how to show.
Yeah, it's exciting. So I'm just telling my public of Pasadena en Español that they have to go to your exhibit.
Yes,
And I also know that you are a teacher.
I
You teach
am.
at the Cal Poly Pomona, right?
Correct. I teach at Cal Poly Pomona. I teach costume design, costume history, and an art class there. And I also teach at Loyola Marymount University here near the airport. I teach a,
Ah,
yeah, I teach a class on theater. It's called Diversity in American Art, in American Theater, where we talked about plays by African Americans, Asian Americans, people with disabilities, Arab Americans. We do an exploration of minority groups and their relationship with theater and how they communicate their ideas and struggles and successes on stage.
so you are immersed in the art, but how you balance the teaching and the creativity, your creativity?
Yes, you know, being an artist and always reading plays and watching shows, it's always inspirational. When I go to my studio in Santa Barbara on Fridays and Saturdays, I force myself to be creative. I only have 2 days to be creative. Sometimes I only have one day. And sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
muse does not come, right? You're there waiting,
Yeah.
muse, please come, come.
Okay,
And
when
and
you don't
and
know, imagine.
and she's never there. It goes the same thing when you're writing. Sometimes you sit down and you have a story in your mind, or sometimes and the words do not come in and to you right away, but you keep writing, right? Sometimes when the practice, talking about the journey and the practice together, by making stuff, making sure that I am producing stuff, keeps me creative enough to align myself to something that might come next. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not so much of a good thing. Sometimes I create things that are very good and very proud, sometimes not so much. But I'm continue practicing, continue making stuff, which is important for this. I would say to have a balance between my career as a professor,
Mm-hmm.
as as an
Clear.
artist, creative person, and merging those two together. And then sometimes life gets in the way, and
Mm-hmm.
have to deal with health issues and stuff like that. But it's always
Mm-hmm.
developing.
Personal, personal
Personal, I'm here.
challenges.
Yeah, yeah. My family is in Brazil. I am here. So it's always a challenge.
Yes. And beyond this project that you are working with this exhibit, do you have another projects on mind coming up?
No, not set in stone. I'm trying to be more creative in terms of making more stuff, having more
Mm-hmm.
variety for my ceramic pieces. I started about a year ago and I have a few pieces and they were smaller in the beginning, learning how to glaze, learning how to, make stuff and then firing 2, 3 times to have something ready for you. And I'm trying to get more of a body of work that I can upload to my website. My website by now only has photography, three-dimensional pieces, and paintings. So I want to
Mhm.
create a number of pieces that I can actually have like a quality show to put it in my website. So that's what I'm working right now.
Okay. What is your website for to go and visit your work?
Yeah, it's my art website. It's called
Mhm.
jrartstudios.com. Over there, I have images of my three-dimensional figures, my
Mhm.
photographs, and my paintings. So
You
whenever I have something new, I upload
mhm.
to the website.
And you have a social media where we
I
can
have
follow
social
you?
media, I have Instagram and Facebook accounts. I have, yeah, for my Instagram is handle Paulo Lima underscore art. And for my Facebook is more of a personal, but the artistic one is my name underscore art.
Oh, well, thank you so much for this interview. And
Thank you.
please invite the Pasadena en Español viewers and followers to go and see your exhibit. And
Yeah, and the exhibition is on until December 4th.
mhm,
Unfortunately, it is in a college campus, so they work only Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4. They are not open on weekends or holidays. They follow, the calendar for classes there. So yeah, but people are invited. There's 3 weeks more of show, and it has been well received. Last week, I had a conversation with the students, professors, and people in the community, and it was good
mhm.
to be able to share, just like what I'm sharing with you, my process, the mediums that I work with, and I don't know, getting to learn a little bit about the community as well. It's important to share the love with Santa Maria, Pasadena, Santa Barbara, LA, right? Getting to
Yeah.
go to places and traveling. I would love to have this exhibition go somewhere else.
Okay, so maybe this is just the starting point, and we are looking for to see your work in another places
Yeah,
nearby
yes.
Pasadena.
Yeah, that'd be great to go to Pasadena.
But it's a good pretext to go to the north
Yes.
and, and, and
Oh, it
enjoy
is. Yeah,
the
yeah. It's
surroundings.
a nice travel to go and maybe stop, get coffee in Santa Barbara, keep going. You stop in Los Alamos, get a, glass of wine, or maybe later coming back or staying there in the hotel and then enjoying Santa Maria and Orkut and
Yes.
Nipomo. There's a
Well,
lot there.
thank you so much for this interview and for your words. And we're looking for to see your work and your art.
Thank you, Isabel. I appreciate it. And I hope my Spanish was much better so I could have this, interview in Espanol. I can just get by with my Espanol. It's not
No,
very.
but you are a Latino, and this is an honor to interview a Latino that is making it with the arts.
Yes, yes, yes. As a Brazilian, I'm very happy to be called a Latino and be here and representing.